A basic definition of a gang is a group of persons assembled and acting or working together. And although a gang does not have to be composed of criminals and does not have to be associated with criminal acts, in today's society, that is usually what happens. People do usually associate a gang with criminal conduct and criminals consisting of the gang. Um, and a man named Walter Miller defined a gang as a group of recurrently associating individuals with identifiable leadership and internal organization, identifying with or claiming control over territory in a community and engaging either individually or collectively in violent or other forms of illegal behavior. So, again, associating with the criminal behavior in the definition of a gang. And depending on the gang, there are different objectives, different orientations, and different organizations that make up all the different gangs, and that is discussed later in the book. And a man named James Short came up with criteria for definitions of gangs, and these criteria consisted of recurrent recurrent congregation outside of the home, self-defined inclusion or exclusion, and continuity of affiliation, territorial basis consisting of customary hanging and ranging areas, including self-defined use and occupancy rights, versatile activity repertoire, and organizational differentiation. And when asking an actual member of a gang what the definition of a gang is, this individual said, "You look out for me and I look out for you. That's what makes the gang." So there are a lot of differences in definitions for gangs and different people with different professions and different life experiences, whether having been in a gang, whether being a sociologist, things like that, really just depends. And so different people do have a lot of different outlooks on gangs and would provide a different definition. And there were actually gangs in England as early as the 20th century, and this is when the term hooligan came to be. It came from the hooligan gang, which was present in London in the 1980s. And it was also noted that in Russia, many of the impoverished young people would turn to these gangs in order for survival. They would join these gangs and they would be able to have people look out for them, have a way to get the things that they need to live. And so a lot of these young people viewed this as their only option in order to survive, as compared with all the alternatives. And lastly, during the 19th century, a lot of the gangs that were in America were actually of the Irish descent. And this was thought to be because these young people came here with little money, little education, a very low social status. They ended up living in the slums of many cities, is what the book called it. And they felt like they had nowhere to turn. And just like the young people in Russia, they made a decision to turn to this life of crime in order to escape the turmoil that they felt their life was in, and because they felt like they didn't have any other options. So part of this chapter is about, first of all, defining a gang and realizing the differences in definitions of gangs, and also realizing the reasons that many young people originally joined gangs. And it wasn't always just to live a life of crime. A lot of the time it was just in order to survive.